we're going to go on to our next speaker. So we're welcoming Cira Pascual Marquina. So Cira is a popular educator, communal organizer within the Panal Commune in the emblematic 23 de Enero barrio in Caracas, and also a militant of the Fuerza Patriótica Alexis Vive. So Cira is also the co-author of the book Venezuela, The Present as Struggle. So Cira, thank you once again for joining us from Caracas, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Reagan. Thank you also to all the comrades from the Revolutionary Communist Group. We really admire your work. We actually are very thankful for your solidarity and your internationalism. It's actually important for us, for those of us who are struggling here in Venezuela, for those of us who are building a new world against like in the worst of conditions because of the imperialist siege. It is actually very important for us to have comrades around the world who are looking at us and who are learning from us perhaps, but also we are learning a great deal from you. So again, thank you to everybody. So before talking a little bit about our commune, El Panal Commune, and about the Fuerza Patriótica Alexis Vive, well, Robert already talked about a little bit about the history of the Fuerza Patriótica Alexis Vive. I wanted to put kind of like a few basic points in terms of what it actually is a commune, because oftentimes internationalists come to Venezuela and maybe they come to visit one of our communes and they learn a little bit, but I think it's important to understand what the communal project is about. And this is something that I do as a communard and also as an educator. I think that we, like having some precision about what the commune is important. So basically, as you probably know, Chavez begins to talk about the communes around 2009, but actually it's very early in the process that we call the Bolivarian Revolution, around actually 1991, 1992, that Chavez begins to talk about participative and protagonic democracy. So already that early on, he begins to talk about the need to reorganize the politics in Venezuela. He's not yet talking about the need to reorganize the economy, but so early on, he's already talking about the need to reorganize the political system in Venezuela and to make it a direct democracy-based system. This is very important. So, but of course, when you are building a new world, when you have a new horizon, in our case, the communal horizon, you actually have to also look at the history of the people who are building this new form of organization, and in this case, this form of collective emancipation, this form of political and economic collective emancipation, which we call the commune. And one of the extraordinary things about Venezuela society, and I am a Venezuelan by heart, but I was not born in Venezuela, so maybe I can say this with a little bit of distance, is that Venezuelans are extraordinarily generous. Venezuelans are very, very solidarious. And in fact, there's a culture of mutual support and solidarity that is important to Venezuela's society. There's also an interesting anecdote that I often like to tell to folks who are not from here, and that's like to understand our culture and our society here in Venezuela. And that's that after insulting one's mother, which would be the biggest insult that you can give to probably anybody, but specifically to a Venezuelan, the worst thing that you can tell to a Venezuelan is that they are pichirri. And pichirri means that they are selfish, not generous, that they stay to themselves and that they don't share. And I think that these elements are important elements to understand why today a big part of Venezuela's society has committed to basically a communist project. That is what the commune is. The commune is a communist project. It's putting what there is, the means of production, the culture, everything, putting it all together, like collectively and through the means of direct democracy, organizing the life in a new way. So I think that these are important elements. And I would go to a third element to understand how we came to this extraordinary proposal of Chavez in 2009. And that's that in the history of Venezuela, there were there's a long history of maroon communities that lived on the fringe of the colonial society, that were tremendously democratic, where the means of production were collectively owned, and of course the surplus was collectively distributed. So having said those three things about, like how we come to this extraordinary moment of building communes in Venezuela, I would point to two specific elements that are important to know when we think about communes, or three elements. One is that in 2006, Chavez begins to talk about communal councils. Communal councils are direct democracy spaces in the territory, in the barrio, in the camp, in the countryside, in the favela, in your middle class neighborhood. You organize a group of, say, 200, 300 families, organizes to solve the problems that people have. So there's a problem with electricity or with the school or what have you. And because there is a law promoted by Chavez, the government state has to support the decisions of the people in terms of what the problems are that they need to solve. This is 2006. This is an exercise, a very important exercise in in direct democracy. But I should add that by 2006, and with the communal councils do not have yet don't offer the key in terms of how to jump towards a socialist society, in terms of how to jump towards a society that also reorganizes not only its political day-to-day life, but also the social relations of production. So it's with the commune, in 2009, that Chavez and the Bolivarian Revolution and the Venezuelan people find basically what they call the path and the destiny towards socialism. The commune is both a path and a destiny, in the sense that if you go to a commune right now, if you go to a commune today, it's already a prefiguration of socialism. At small scale, we have a lot to do. We have many difficulties because, as everybody knows, we are under siege. But when you go to a commune, you can also already see a prefiguration of socialism. And there's some important things to say about communes. I am a communard in El Panal Commune, but I've also had the privilege of visiting many communes around the country, doing a work that we are doing basically that documents different communes around the country. These are books that are in Spanish. You can download them in the Observatorio Antibloqueo website. And one of the extraordinary things that we found visiting these communes is that in communes, of course, you know that you're building a new horizon, you are building a new society, but the communes are giving results right now in the worst of conditions. One of the extraordinary things is that when Chavez proposes to make the communes, and I will ask that you make a sign when I'm talking too long, Regan, when I need to begin to close up, because I can go on and on. So one of the extraordinary things that we found visiting communes, really marvelous, is that because communes have means of social, there's means of production that are or should have, strive to have, means of production that are in the hands of the people. And this is important to understand. So we are saying that the commune offers a roadmap for changing the social relations in Venezuela. How does that happen? A commune has means of production, and these means of production are communal property. So in our commune, in El Panal Commune, we have a textile plant, and we have a bakery, and we have a soap making plant, and we have other means of production. And the surplus from those means of production, what happens with those is that it goes back to the community. So it doesn't go, it's not private property, of course. It's not state property either. It is not some sort of cooperative property. It is communal or communist property. And that ultimately means not only that the surplus goes back to the community, to the commune, but actually that the commune decides what to do with that surplus. Collectively, in an assembly, in a direct democracy space, the commune decides what to do with the surplus. So I was talking about the specific case about our commune, how it works, and the means of production that we have. But one of the extraordinary things that happened is that around 2017, when things were really bad, And remember that comuna or nada de Chavez. You know, like Chavez says, comuna or nada in 2012. Commune or nothing. Commune or death, basically. Basically, when Venezuela was in the midst of the nada, of the nothing, of death, because the blockade was upon us and it came upon us and we were not ready, and we also had lost Chavez. The situation was truly, truly dramatic around 2016, 2017, 2018. And that moment, 2016, 2017, 2018, is actually the moment when communes re-emerge. So Chavez proposes the communes in 2009. And of course, there were many communes that emerged around that time. But the moment when communes emerged with more force is when the blockade was at its harshest, when really everybody was really, really skinny, when there was not enough food to go around, when there wasn't enough medicine to go around. And that's when communes began to re-emerge from the ashes. This is an extraordinary thing because there's one thing that when a blockade descends upon you, or when a very, very critical situation descends upon you, a very brutal, very dramatic, very bloody situation, you know, tens of thousands of people died in Venezuela because of the US blockade. But when a very dramatic situation descends upon you, you have kind of like two options. You can become a victim, or you can become a subject of transformation. And what I've seen in my commune, and what I've seen in the communes that I have visited around the country, is that people have become subjects of transformation. They haven't just retreated and safeguarded themselves. People have actually opened the path to a new world in the worst of conditions with a real commitment. So what we see when we visit communes, what I see in my own commune, is that, for instance, if there's a surplus from one of the means of production, and there's somebody who has a very difficult situation, they cannot get some medicine, of the problems, these very dramatic problems that people face. So I think that it is really, I think that Chavez really discovered something extraordinary. Chavez, and of course, we are not the first to make communes. The Chinese people made communes. The Soviets made Soviets. The Russians made Soviets. There's the Paris Commune. There's many, many communal exercises throughout history. But in our, Bolivarian process, the discovery of the commune, which ties with our history, with the history of the Venezuelan people, that is something that we really have to commit ourselves for. It's not that there are not contradictions in the making of communes. It's not that there aren't contradictions, but there are many, many, many possibilities. In our commune, what some people would call a favela, and you might, it's really, like humble people living there. But you can go there at any hour, and absolutely, I swear that nothing will happen, because there's a collective process of safeguarding the community. So we have, on the one hand, self-government, we have means of production, so we have autogestión, self-management, economic self-management. We have self-defense, and we also have self-education in our commune through a project that we call the Pluriversidad Patria Grande, the Pluriversity, which is our communal seedbed. And then, of course, we are also internationalists, and we are really grateful for having heard you, and we really look forward to hearing back from you. So I will close with Chavez's Comuna o Nada.
Thank you so much, Cira. Comuna. That was really good to hear from you, and really, I know for myself, and surely for so many people here, your talk really shed a lot of light on what the communal movement is, the history of the communes, how it works, and what it looks like to, as you say, work toward collective emancipation, toward communism through participatory democracy. So thank you so much for that.